This video will cover the most important features and changes coming with the next 2.0 test build. Since this is quite a big update, I will not be able to get into detail on everything, so view this as a good old update overview. If you want to try these test builds for yourself, you can download them on my Discord server, and you can also find a full changelog of this version on there. I've started to bring back some support for player-ridden vehicles being recognized as proper road participants. This is a part of the mod that has been neglected for a long time, and I want to start making some improvements there. I've primarily fixed numerous crashes, so this is still an area of active development, but I believe that there's quite a lot of potential in this area, and also when looking at other mods that add vehicles into the game, I think those can be specifically addressed in traffic. Inside the traffic simulator placement settings, you can now find an option to toggle multi-connect. This option directly affects the item that you're holding, provided it supports multi-connect, of course. And with the editor in particular, this, for one, enables much quicker connecting of the traffic light controller with the traffic lights. Speaking of traffic lights, those have been reworked yet again, now making use of the incredibly flexible display and program system. Traffic lights themselves use proper displays instead of single bulb textures, so you can design each bulb to your heart's content, adding text or even images, including those drawn in-game. To make vehicles react accordingly to in-game images being displayed on a bulb, you can add context to those images when drawing one. So the way controllers work has also changed with this version. So right here we have a traffic light connected to this control box, and let's say we just want to create a default cycle. So what you first have to do is you have to select a cycle. The reason for that is because the cycles are now universal. So if you create one cycle for this traffic light controller, you can use that cycle for as many other traffic light controllers as you like. So let's create a new cycle by pressing the add button here, and let's just give it a name. And now we're going to select that cycle. Now that the cycle is selected, you can begin editing. This comes with a little prompt telling you that when you edit the cycle, all other traffic light controllers that use that cycle are also affected, obviously. So you click that, and now you can almost edit the phases as before. So you can add a new phase by pressing this button, copy the phase with this button, remove with that, and move the phases up and down with these arrows. You can give phases custom IDs if you'd like, so if you want to differentiate them a little more, you could call that one, I don't know, the all red phase or something, and then you can just differentiate them a bit better. Here on the right side, you have all controllables, like all traffic lights, all crossing gates that are connected to this phase. So by pressing this plus button here, you can now add the traffic light to the phase. When you hold shift while left clicking, you're going to add all traffic lights to the phase that are connected to the controller, or all crossing gates when you click the crossing gates. Right. You hit confirm, and now you can edit them almost like before. When you hit control, you can just toggle the bulbs on and off, and you can see the changes happening live on the map. When you hit shift, just like before, you turn on the bulb that you click and turn off all other ones. If you do a normal click, this screen is opened, letting you configure the on-off sequence of the bulb. So if you add, say, these two durations, and change the duration to 10 on both, and now turn this one off, you can see here in the preview that you can also hide down here what that flashing sequence will look like, and you can pretty much do whatever you want, and it will show right here. Let's quickly add a green light to the second phase. Right, and this is now our two phases. Let's now hit edit program to finalize everything and get these phases running in the world. If your program is currently empty, it's going to auto-generate these control blocks, which just cycle through all the phases that you've created. So it starts with the all red phase, then waits 60 ticks, so 3 seconds, then goes to the next phase, and then waits 60 ticks again. So when we now hit save, without doing anything else, you can see that the cycles are applied. The other option that you have is to use pre-made traffic light cycles. And I think this is where it gets really exciting because you can add traffic light cycles in programs via content packs, and then these programs can just be used across all your worlds. These cycles can be used across all your worlds and saving you a lot of time. So you can create one very complicated cycle and phases and then use that one as often as you like, and also share that one with other people, which I think is very exciting. So let's do that. We once again select a cycle, but this time we're going to use some pre-made cycles. So I've included 2 cycles right now with the default content pack, and we're going to use the one for the basic intersection. When you click that one, it now shows a description telling you what this cycle does, and also, very importantly, right here, the needed controllables. So these are all the traffic lights or crossing gates or crosswalk buttons that you're going to need for this cycle to work. So it tells you that you need 2 sets of traffic lights, and the first set needs to have the ID traffic light 1, and the second set needs to have the ID traffic light 2. And it also tells you which programs to use alongside the cycle. So all you have to do is hit select, and right now the phases don't do anything, but if we rename this traffic light to traffic light 1 and the other one to traffic light 2, you can now see that the phases actually take effect and they play out as you would expect. When you now hit edit program, this program is auto-generated. It looks a lot different, but essentially what this does, it automatically puts in the correct program that is associated with the cycle, if it was configured that way, and puts in the default arguments. If you want to check out the program, you can just click on this, and it tells you, once again, the description of the program that is currently selected, as well as the arguments that this program takes in. And I know it might seem a bit complicated at first, but I think if you just wrap your head around it once, it really saves a lot of time. So the first argument is the amount in ticks for how long the first set of traffic lights is green. The second argument is the amount in ticks for how long the second set of traffic lights is green, and you can just see what all the arguments do, and then you can change these numbers that are separated by a comma accordingly. But if you just leave them as is, it will work regardless. So all you have to do is hit save and exit, go out, and everything works. Working well together with the traffic light controller is the new controller block. Of course, controller blocks are content pack based, so you have to select a type first. The controller type not only defines the model, but also the amounts and placement of the switches/buttons. And naturally, you can also offset the controller block. Press the Edit Switches button, select which switch to edit, and this UI is opened. At the bottom, you can add or remove switch states. Switch states are differentiated by their IDs, and by pressing the switch in the world, you cycle through these states. Each state comes with a display that is shown on the controller block as the switch's icon, if you will, and an optional program that is run when the state is triggered. Not only can you run all sorts of programs that you've made, but if the controller block is also connected to a traffic light control box, you can get the switch state of a controller switch with a program to trigger actions based on that state. With that, you can make, for instance, intricate pedestrian crossings, but once again, with the release of 2.0, a fully fledged tutorial series is planned, which will go over everything in detail, and I know that this is desperately needed, especially for 2.0 in particular, which doesn't really have any documentation at all. The sound system has also been completely overhauled, coming with many, many quality improvements. Not only has the system been made more robust internally, but I've also added multiple vehicle sounds like braking sounds or slowing down sounds, with more to come in the future. Sounds now attenuate much more clearly with distance, and I've also taken the opportunity to majorly improve the existing speaker block. The speaker block can now play any sound added through the mod, which you set with this text field here, and since it's the norm now, you can of course offset the block as well. With this button here, you can change the speaker's sound properties, changing things like volume, pitch, max distance, and so on. You can also finally create animations, and when editing a vehicle, you press the animate button. There you have to create a new or edit an existing animation. In the animation editor, right-click the timeline to add tracks, right-click the track to add instructions. You can change all important values inside the left side panel here. Press the Parts button at the bottom of the model viewer to show a list of all animatable parts. All objects inside the model viewer with the same name are grouped together and can be animated as one. So as a content pack creator, it might make sense to go over existing models and rename objects accordingly so that they can be animated. The plan is to create animations in-game and put them inside your content pack. I will be going more into detail when 2.0 officially releases. But for now, you can play any animations by calling them within a program. In the future, vehicles might also be able to spawn in with predefined animations. This will be especially useful since animations, programs, and spawning groups can also be edited by content packs now. Even though I went over a lot of stuff, there are still many smaller changes that I have not mentioned, so I once again encourage you to check out the full changelog on my Discord server in case you're interested in all the details. With that being said, I hope you like the new changes. There's still quite a lot of work ahead, but I feel much more comfortable talking about a potential release of beta version 2.0. I don't know when that'll be, and it might very well still take a while, but I think we've come a long way and everything is coming together great. I plan to make the mod easier to use going forward and to make it a more simplified experience setting up traffic. And this is especially true for public transportation, but it also applies to general traffic, for which the spawning system needs some work still. I sincerely thank everyone who's been following me on this awesome journey, providing valuable feedback and making the mod what it is today. I also want to say thanks to the people making incredible content packs for this mod. You're awesome, and I wish you all a great rest of the day. See you next time.